Hello everyone. In this video, I'll going to explain about another managed service in AWS, that is AWS Code Pipeline. So let's move to the agenda and see what are the topic I'll be covering in this video. Uh, what is pipeline code, why we need code pipeline, what are the features, key concepts, how the code pipeline will work, and what are the benefits, limitations, and use cases, and demo on code pipeline, and which similar tools are used like code pipeline. So what is AWS code pipeline? So it's a fully managed continuous integration and a continuous delivery service provided by AWS, and it automates the entire release process, including the test, build, and deployment stages, completely a automatic process. With AWS Code Pipeline, developers can push code changes to the source repository, like you can use GitHub, Code Commit, or S3, and the pipeline automatically triggers a series of steps to compile the code, to run the test and deploy it to various AWS services such as EC2, Elastic Beanstalk, or a S3. So these automation reduce manual intervention, speed up the development lifecycle, and allow for faster and more reliable software releases. AWS Code Pipeline also integrate with the third parties tools like Jenkins, so make it flexible and adaptable to different development workflow. Its primary goal is to facilitate continuous integration and continuous delivery, ensuring that updates and the new features can be delivered rapidly and with the minimal errors. So why we need AWS code pipeline? So when it's come to why, so it's a automates the software release process and make faster, more reliable, and less to human errors. And it's enable continuous integration and continuous delivery, allowing development teams to automatically build, test, and deploy code changes whenever new updates are pushed to the source repository like GitHub, Code Commit, or a S3. These automations significantly speed up the release cycle, enabling faster delivery of new features and updates. So, AWS Code Pipeline offers seamless integration with other AWS services, like it can be a EC2, ECS, and a Lambda, as well as the third party tools like Jenkins, enable flexibility and customization. Additionally, it provides real time visibility into the status of the release process, so developer can track changes, identify issue, and resolve them quickly. By reducing manual intervention and supporting multi-environment deployments like development, testing, and a production, AWS code pipeline enhance software delivery efficiency and overall deployment productivity. So what are the key features of AWS code pipeline? So when it's come to its feature, it's a automation of CI/CD process. So AWS code pipeline automates the entire continuous integration and a continuous delivery workflow, reduce the need for manual intervention. These includes automation, building, test, and deployment stages, make it easier to deliver applications quickly and reliable. So the next we have is integration with AWS and a third party tools. So code pipeline integrates seamlessly with various AWS services like AWS Code Build, Elastic Beanstalk, EC2, S3, Lambda, and ECS. It also supports third party tools such as GitHub, Jenkins, and Terraform, enabling flexibility in a varieties of development environment. So the next is parallel and a sequential action. So code pipeline allow for both parallel and a sequential actions within different stages. For example, multiple test or deployment tasks can run in parallel, speeding up the pipeline, while some tasks like deployment can be executed in a sequence. So the next is real-time monitoring and notifications. So with real-time monitoring, Code Pipeline provides up-to-date status information about the pipeline stages. Developers and teams can set up notification via Amazon SNS or other communication tools to be altered on pipeline success, failure, or other important events. The next thing is version control integration. So when it's come towards version control, Code Pipeline integrated with GitHub, AWS Code Commit, or S3 for version control, ensuring that the pipeline always pulls the latest version of the application code for building, testing, and development. So deployment. So the last thing we have is a customizable pipelines. So code pipeline is highly customizable, allow user to define custom actions and workflow at each stages. For example, you can integrate additional step for security scanning, manual approvals, or approval gates. So the next thing we have is a key concept of AWS code pipeline. So what are the key concepts of AWS pipeline? First is a stage. It's pull code from the GitHub, AWS code commit, or a S3. The source stage is where the AWS code pipeline retrieves the latest version of your application's code. It can pull the code from repositories like GitHub, AWS code commit, or a Amazon S3. These stages triggered automatically whenever there are changes in the source code, ensuring that the pipeline always work with the most recent version of the application. The next stage we have is a build stage. Once the code is retrieved, the build stage is responsible for compiling and building the application, typically done with using AWS Code Build, a fully managed build service, or other tools like Jenkins. The build stage prepares the code for testing and deployment by resolving dependency, compiling, assist, and packaging the application. So the next stage is test stage. In the test stage, automated tests are run on the application to ensure its quality and functionality. These could include unit test, integration test, or other forms of testing depending on the pipeline's configuration. If the test passes successfully, the pipeline proceed to the deployment stage. If not, the process is altered to the prevent fault code from being deployed. It can be terminated. So the last thing we have is a deploy stage. Finally, the deploy stage is where the application is deployed to the chosen environment. This could be a EC2 instance, S3 buckets, dependent on the application type and the infrastructure. The develop stage ensure that the latest version of the application is available to the users and can be rolled back or updated if necessary. So these stages work together to automate the entire software delivery process, ensuring faster and more efficient deployment with a minimal manual intervention. So the next, how the code pipeline will work, the workflow. So here a developer pushes the code firstly, and so this is the workflow. So in this we have some steps. The first step is developer pushes the code. So this process begins when a developer push a new code to a version control system like GitHub or AWS code commit. These trigger the pipeline to start the automation status. The first step is developer pushes the code. So the next step is what is source stage trigger pipeline. In this stage, code pipeline retrieve the latest code, changes from the source repository, GitHub or a code commit S3, and prepare it for the next stage. This is the entry point of the pipeline. The next we have is a build stage. The code is then passed to the build stage where it's compiled dependency and resolved. The application is packaged using AWS code build, Jenkins, or other builders. The next we have a test stage. Once the application is built, it enters the test stage. Automate the test are run to ensure that the application are as expected. If the test passes, the process moves forward. If not, the pipeline will stop. And the last is deployment stage. After successfully testing, the application is deployed to choose an environment. In the develop stage, these final stage ensure that the latest version of the applications is available for use. So the next thing we have is a benefits of AWS code pipeline. Let's see what are the benefits are. So the first thing we have is it is a end-to-end automation. Code pipeline automates the entire software release process, eliminate the need for manual intervention at each stage, that is source, build, test, deploy. These ensure consistent, reliable, and efficient workflow, allow developers to focus more on coding rather than managing deployments. Here, it's completely a automation process. There is no a manual process. And the next thing is rapid delivery. With AWS code pipeline, new features, bug fixes, or updates can be delivered to the production quickly and seamlessly. The automation reduces the time taken from development to deployment, helping teams to release update faster and more frequently, meeting the business demand. And the next thing is seamless integration. So code pipeline integrates easily with other AWS services like AWS code build, elastic beanstalk, ECS, and lambda. It also supports third party tools like Jenkins, GitHub, Bitbucket, and other services, make it a flexible choice for desired DevOps environment. Scalability, another benefit. So AWS code pipeline can scale effortless to accommodate growing applications or expanding team. It can handle larger volumes of deployment, run multiple pipelines in parallel, and support distributed environments across different AWS region or accounts, ensuring it meets the demand of your application growth. So these benefits make AWS code pipeline a powerful tool for modern DevOps practice, improving productivity, speeding up software release, and ensuring the stability of the application at scale. So let's understand what are the limitations of AWS code pipeline. So it has a limited customization when compared to the Jenkins. While AWS code pipeline offers a range of built-in features and integration, it is less flexible than tools like Jenkins when it comes to custom actions and advanced configuration. Jenkins allow more customization for workflow, plugins, and a complex automation scripts, which can be critical for more certain, unique, or high specialized use cases. AWS code pipeline is more focused on simplicity and integration with AWS services, which may not always meet the need of high complex or non-standard workflow. So the next thing is its limitation is cost. Code pipeline is priced based on the number of active pipelines and executions. While it offers cost effective solution for small to medium sized project, the cost can increase significantly with the large number of pipelines or frequently pipeline execution. These make it important to monitor usage and optimize pipeline configuration to avoid unnecessary cost, especially in a large scale environment. So the last limitation is dependency on AWS services. So AWS code pipeline is designed to work seamlessly with AWS native services like, for example, code commit, code build, elastic beanstalk, lambda. While it does not support third-party integrations like GitHub and Jenkins, the best performance and reliability are achieved when using AWS services throughout the pipeline. If your infrastructure relies heavily on non-AWS tools or services, you might face limitation in integration and performance compared to using a more flexible CI/CD tools that supports a wider range of external integration. So these limitations should be considered when choosing AWS code pipeline, especially for teams requiring high customization or those with complex CI/CD needs that go behind what AWS services can offer. So the next we have is a use case of AWS pipeline. So let's see what are the use case here have taken. So the first, application development, that is CI/CD pipelines for web applications. AWS code pipeline is commonly used to automate the continuous integration and a continuous delivery process for web applications. By setting up a pipeline, developers can automatically build, test, and develop their code changes. These ensure fast, reliable, and repeatable deployments of web applications, reducing the manual work involved in the application development. For example, a web application developed in React or a Node.js or any other frameworks where changes pushed to the source code repository triggered automated build, test, and developments deployments. So the next use case is infrastructure as a code, that's deployed for infrastructure changes automatically. AWS code pipeline can be used to deploy infrastructure as a code templates to manage infrastructure. Whenever infrastructure changes are needed, code pipeline automatically triggers the pipeline to apply the changes, ensuring that the infrastructure is updated and consistent across environment without manual intervention. So for example, it automatically deploying infrastructure changes like adding new AWS services like EC2 instance or S3 buckets, or updating security policies and a network configuration using CloudFormation templates. So the next use case is multi-environment developments. So AWS code pipeline is ideal for managing multi-environment development. It can automatically develop different versions of an application to various environments such as development, testing, and a production team, which is capabilities each environment can be configured and tested independently before deploying to the production, minimizing errors and ensuring stable release. For example, a pipeline deploys a web application to a development environment first for testing, then moves it to a staging environment for more tests, and finally deployed to the production environment if everything checkouts. These use cases highlights how AWS code pipelines seamless software delivered and infrastructure management, providing automation, consistency, and efficiency for different workflow. So let's go to the AWS account and demonstrate or deploy a simple demo on a code pipeline. So let's go and create pipeline. Before that, so this is the static web application I have been built. So this is the page. So in the last video I have shown you how to build a code build and how to access from the S3 bucket and all I have shown you. So from this I am going to implement the code pipeline. So let's go to the code pipeline. So click on create pipeline. So here we need to choose the creation option. So it's create pipeline from the template or a build custom pipeline. Here I'm using the build custom pipeline from the sketch to meet our specific needs. So click on next. So give the name for the pipeline. So this the next thing we have is a execution mode. In this we have a supersended, queued and a parallel pipeline. So it's a more recent it's supersended is a more recent execution can overtaken on an older one, and this is a default one. So queued executions are processed one by one in order they are queued. So parallel pipeline. So execution does not wait for another run to complete before starting or a finishing. So here I'm using a parallel pipeline. So this is a service role. So you can create it in a IAM, that is access identified management. Um, Identity access management, sorry. So you can create a new role or you can select the existing role. So here I'm selecting for the existing one because I already created things, that's why I'm selecting the existing one. So click on next. So it's the next thing is source, a source provider. This is where you need to store your input artifacts to your pipeline. Choose the provider and then provide the connection details. So here I'm using the GitHub by auth. So it's asking to connect to the GitHub. So click on create. It will open a page to confirm that one you have successfully configured. So you need to select your repository. So this is the actual code demo is my repository, GitHub repository of my entire code. So see in the code demo I have my entire code. So that's why I have given the this one. So and the branch in the main. So click on next. So here build provider, we need to give the build provider. Here I'm using the other build provider because I have already built those things by using a Amazon, that's AWS code build. So I'm using that one. So you need to choose the project also, the code demo project C. By the name of the code demo project, I've already built the project, so I'm using the code demo project name. So as the rest of the thing will be same. So click on next. So here you need to choose the developer provider. I'm using S3 bucket for this one. So also I'll show you something called here I have the name demo web application code. I have chosen that one. So here click on next. So please input an object key, enter the object key. No, extract file before deploying. Click on this and click on next. So we need to review these things. So on pipeline name and the pipeline type, we have chosen parallel and the service role, and we connected with the GitHub auth app repository code demo branch, and I'd show the owner. So at build stage I've used the AWS code build. So the next thing is deploy stage. So click on create pipeline. So it will created a pipeline. Now what we need to do is, so when you come to the here, So it will create a pipeline bucket also. So the thing what we need to do is now I'll show you. So this is my static web application, right? So when I go to GitHub and go to index.html, here I'm changing some commits. So what I'm doing is I'm changing the tag to h3 h3 and it should be in a black. So click on commit changes. So commit changes. So what it does it, the automatically it will automatically the changes will appear when you go to here inside this. See, the source has been succeeded, the build is in progress. Let's wait few minutes. So the build is also success and the develop also success. So let's go to this one and refresh this page. See, have changes the allow to the h3 tag, and also the first thing, the pipeline develop static web page, it should be in a blue color, but I have changed it for the black one. So the page has been changes. So let's go and change some of the things. So again I'll do it for blue. Edit the file. Blue and commit changes, and also so go to the style.css. So here the header, see, the header name is in the red color, right? So I'll change this color to the edit, this color to the commit changes, on commit changes. So when you now when you go to the pipelines, see, it is in a progress. The source has been successed. Automatically the from the GitHub it will trigger to the AWS code pipeline because we have connected through that. Let's wait few minutes. So as it has been deployed, so simply refresh this page. So see, it will appear in a blue thing. In the you have changed it for it is for black. is in a progress. Let's, yeah, it has been completed. So, so refresh button. Yes, see, the color has been changed to the black. So this is how the code pipeline will work. So let's go and see similar to the code pipeline which tools will work. So similar tool to AWS code pipeline, which are the tools? So let's see one by one which are the tools with similar to the AWS code pipeline we will use. So in this, the first thing we have is a Jenkins. So Jenkins is an open source automation server widely used for continuous integration and a continuous delivery. It offers extensive customization with thousands of plugins that integrates with various tools and services including AWS, and its highly customizable large plugin ecosystem support both CI/CD. Open source can be integrated with multiple version control system and deployment tools. So the next thing we have is a GitLab CI/CD. So GitLab CI/CD is integrated with the part of the GitLab platform, which allow user to automate their entire software development lifecycle from source code management to deployment. And it is fully integrated with GitLab repositories, customizable pipeline, supports various environments including Kubernetes, providing auto scaling runners and a built-in monitoring. So the another tool we have is a Circle CI. So Circle CI is a cloud-based continuous integration and a delivery tool that automates the software development process. It supports Docker, Kubernetes, and integration with multiple code repository. It supports Dockers and Kubernetes, cloud native, easy configuration with the YAML files, integrates with AWS, Google Cloud Provider, and other cloud providers. And it also similar to the Azure DevOps. Azure DevOps is suite of tool for Microsoft that offers comprehensive CI/CD capabilities for software development and deployment. It supports Git repositories, pipelines for build and deployment, integrates with the Azure services and other cloud provider, offers release management and strong enterprises level security features. So the last thing we have a similar tools like Bitbucket Pipeline. Bitbucket Pipeline is a CI/CD service integrated into Bitbucket. It automates code building, testing, and the deployment directly from the Bitbucket repository. Native integration with Bitbucket repository similar to YAML configuration, and it supports Docker, integrates well with the AWS and a CGP, that is Google Cloud Provider. These tools like AWS Code Pipeline offers robust CI/CD capabilities and can be used for automating software development and deployment. The choice of the tool depending on a specific project needs, and it integrate with other services, cost and complexity of the deployment process. So that's all about the AWS Code Pipeline managed service in AWS. Thank you.